Hey guys, welcome back to my channel and welcome to another true crime video. Now today's is just like the last two in the sense that I have no idea what to think at the end of looking at this case. Last two videos I did were Rebecca Zahow and Kendrick Johnson, and at the end of those videos I felt like I couldn't come to a conclusion of what I thought happened. I didn't even have a theory or a side that I was really leaning on either way in those cases, and I'm still super confused about them. And this one today, I feel the same about. I really want to get your guys' opinions on this case too, because I just don't know what to think. I don't know. So I guess we should just go ahead and get into it. This is Noura Jackson. She grew up in Memphis, Tennessee with her mother, and her mom was a successful bond trader, triathlete, and would often go to church. And Jennifer's relationship with Noura was special because she was a single mother. So they were very, very close. They only had each other in the world. Jennifer definitely had the approach with Noura of being her friend. She was very lenient about things, not the strictest mother in the world by any means. And Noura kind of got away with a lot of stuff, and Noura even to this day admits that she kind of took advantage of her mom in that way. By the time that Noura was 16 years old, she had already gotten into the party scene, and she was a partier, let me tell you. Definitely known around the town as a wild child, was definitely the girl that people thought of when they thought of parties and who would be at them. And Noura actually ended up going to 5 different high schools, and she struggled a lot through this time, and by age 18 she still hadn't even graduated, so her family pulled her out and homeschooled her. You could definitely say that Noura was a bit on the spoiled side, just kind of getting away with everything, having everything she wanted, but her perfect little life would all be changing on Saturday, June 4th of 2005. Noura actually had a really good day that day. She spent the day getting her nails done at the spa. She then went to this like Italian festival and ate Italian food, hung out with friends, and then she went to 2 different parties that some friends were hosting. And Noura admits that that night she was drinking and smoking weed. 12:46 a.m. on June 5th, Noura went to the gas station to get cigarettes. And right before Noura went to the gas station, she had a phone call with her mom. Now she wouldn't know that this would be the last phone call with her mom. Then around 3:30 a.m. she went to a friend's house. 4 a.m. she was seen on a camera at Walgreens buying first aid supplies for a bad bleeding cut on her hand. And then on her way home, she bought gas at 4:20 a.m. And then at 5 a.m., she's clearly a night owl, she finally arrived home. Upon arriving, she said that she saw broken glass around her front door area, and there was a broken window on the door of her home. She said she wasn't like immediately alarmed by this because her mom had broken the glass before when she had locked herself out of the house, so she didn't think much of it and went inside. And when she got in the house, she said that she noticed her mom's bedroom door was open, and that's where Noura found Jennifer Jackson sprawled out naked on her floor with 50 stab wounds, and she was completely covered in blood. As you can imagine, it was a terrible, terrible crime scene. Noura was probably so alarmed. She'd been, you know, smoking and drinking, so obviously that makes you even more freaked out. Noura ran to a neighbor's house and went to get him to help her, and they went back to the scene together. He said that Noura ran in ahead of him, which there's been a lot made of this. Why did she go in there? Wouldn't she be scared that there'd be an intruder or something?
I do remember that she went in the door before me, and I thought, there's somebody in that house.
If you thought somebody was in the house and you thought your mother was injured, why would you have run back in before the guy with the gun?
But keep in mind, she did already go in and see her mom laying there by herself, and her mom was in, you know, such bad condition. Maybe she just forgot all else and ran in to save her.
A lot was made of my actions, you know, of what I did or didn't do, or, you know, but I don't think they write a handbook on stuff like that.
And that's when she called 911, and here's the call.
Oh, 911.
Please, I need an ambulance. I need an ambulance right now.
Ambulance on the line. Don't hang up. Fire department. What's the address of the emergency?
5001 New Haven Avenue.
What's the problem? Tell me exactly what
Someone broke in my house. My mom, because my mom is bleeding.
is. She breathing?
No, she's not breathing. She's not breathing. She's not breathing. Please help me.
Ma'am, was anyone shot?
No, there's blood everywhere. Please, I need a police officer.
Okay, ma'am, how old is your mother?
She's 39 years old. Oh my God. my God. Oh my God, please, please help me. Please send somebody.
Okay, listen to me, ma'am. I need you to calm down, okay, so we can help your mother. Okay?
You're not breathing.
Okay, listen to me. Did you see what happened?
No, I just got home.
Did someone broke into your home?
Yes, I went to go get my kitten out of the kitchen and there's glass everywhere. Please send an ambulance, please.
Okay,
listen.
We have help on the way. We're going to help your mother.
Somebody help me right now.
Ma'am, I need you to calm down so we can help her, okay?
Sadly, by the time the paramedics got to the scene, Jennifer was already dead. But what was crazy about this is that this actually wasn't Noura's first time going through something like this with a parent. Noura's estranged father, who really wasn't in her life at all, was also killed. And he was the owner of a gas station called Noura's Quick Stop. And one night in January of 2004, 1.5 years before Jennifer's death, someone came into the gas station store and he was shot in the head and killed in his own store. There's a video of the killer stealing the security tape, not knowing there was a backup as well, and taking all the money in the register. The murder was never solved. No one was ever held accountable. No one figured out for sure why or what the motive was, so it was always just kind of this weird thing in Noura's life. Going back to Noura, she immediately started being looked at by police. They thought her behavior was weird, and here are some things that they noticed that were just odd and not adding up. First of all, when the 911 caller asks if anyone had been shot, Noura responded no, like very quickly. And a lot of people have criticized her for this because they thought, well, how would you have known it was a giant bloody mess? How would you have known if she was shot or whatever? So she was kind of criticized for that, although I don't know if that proves anything. And also the fact that there were 50 stab wounds on Jennifer Jackson. That is odd because normally when there's that many stab wounds, it's like way overkill. You clearly didn't need to stab someone that many times to kill them. It seems like a close personal connection or revenge type of plot. Normally it's between two people who know each other, who have passion between them, such as family members, relationships, stuff like that. That's what often investigators think. However, that is not always true. That is not always the case. There's a lot of people that just like to stab people that many times because they're fucking crazy. So I don't think that proves that it was Noura versus some random intruder. But like I said, this case confuses me and I don't know. So let's keep going through the evidence. The sheriff's department kept interviewing Noura over and over again, interrogating her, and finally they made the decision to arrest her and charge her with her mother's murder. And that was on September 29th of 2005. So, you know, only a couple months after her mother died. Can you imagine if you didn't do that, how devastated you'd be? First of all, you're dealing with the brutal death of your mother, actually, and then to be blamed for it as well. I mean, I'm not saying she didn't do it either, though. I'm just saying if she didn't, how horrible you would feel. Another strange thing was the video of Noura with her hand cut at the Walgreens. Now, that was a big problem because she had neglected to tell the police this on purpose because she started to get the sense that they thought she was in on this or involved in some way.
Most damning evidence, though, Noura, is that videotape of you at Walgreens buying emergency first aid supplies, the peroxide, the bandages.
Right, which is why I probably neglected to tell the police that. I was put in a locked room. They started making a very big deal about the cut on my hand, and I just got that feeling that something wasn't right. So no, I was not forthcoming with information, but not because I had anything to hide, but because I felt like I was being looked at.
So her trial began on February 9th of 2009. Valerie Corder was the defense attorney. She actually took on this case pro bono for Noura. She felt bad for her because technically Noura was an orphan. She had been abandoned by her whole family, her mom's whole side of the family, think that she did it and pretty much stopped having any type of relationship with her. And her father's family, I mean, I'm not sure if they were ever in her life. And then on the other side was Amy Wayrich, and she was going for a life sentence of Noura Jackson. And during the trial, the prosecutors had a bunch of Noura's friends testify against her, and it made her look really bad. Although I will say all the things that she was doing, they were doing as well. So they kind of threw her under the bus and made her look really bad.
On the stand today, we heard from more of Noura Jackson's friends.
She liked to use Xanax bars,
pharmaceutical drugs,
cocaine, mushrooms on occasion.
And basically the prosecutor said that her being on all these substances, the night of the actual murder, it was just alcohol and weed, which I don't think would make you want to randomly kill someone. But that's what they claimed was like the reason that she would have killed her mother. But it's like, can you really say that she straight up murdered her mom because she was smoking weed and drinking? I don't think so. And all the other kids were doing that. They weren't killing their moms. How about all the people that do that in the world every day and they're not killing people? But one of the most damning parts of the trial was when one of her friends, ex-friends, Herbie McDonald, testified against her and saying that she hated her mother. And that was pretty bad in the jury's eyes. And then another kid testified named Andrew Hammock. And at the time of her mother's death, he was Noura's friend with benefits. But he testified that he had exchanged calls and texts with Noura at the same time frame of the murder, between 1 and 5 a.m. And Andrew testifies that Noura said that she was at her house and he should meet her there.
It was throughout the night, and the last thing I do remember when I woke up the morning of June 5th, is I had a text message or a voicemail that said answer. You could talk to you or something.
And obviously during the trial, they looked a lot into Noura's relationship with her mother and what it was like between them two. And it turns out that Jennifer Jackson was actually kind of in the process of trying to put the reins on her daughter, like bring her back down to earth, teach her how to be a productive citizen. For years, Jennifer had been trying to get her to calm down with her crazy lifestyle, kind of come back to earth a little bit. And she was getting to the point of taking away Noura's privileges. And it turns out that she was actually planning to send Noura to a boarding school where she would not be able to partake in any sex or drugs or partying. And so this became the main motive for Noura to kill her. And Noura admits to not getting along with her mother, especially in her later teen years. Although she said that she still had respect for her and didn't hide things from her, that they had a very open and honest relationship. But it's hard to say when Jennifer's not here to, you know, say her side of things. And the prosecution also claimed that money could be a motive in it, and it definitely could have been. When Noura's father died, he left behind quite a bit of money and it went to her mom. Now, another thing that really did not help Noura's case is that her whole, mother's family really turned on her. They think that she killed her mother. Her uncle, Eric Sherwood, said that when he would ask Noura if she knew anything or she had any ideas of what could have happened, then she would kind of blow him off and had no interest in talking about it.
I asked Noura if she had any idea about my sister's death, anything to help out with the detectives, and she just basically just put her head down, wouldn't say anything.
He also claims that he heard Noura kind of pressing at her mother about their financial information, life insurance policy, and their assets and stuff, which is pretty unusual to be looking at. And Noura's two aunts also testified against her, and they said that the main reason is that she was never able to tell them where she was when this crime was taking place.
Sometime between her last phone call with Noura at 12:20 a.m. and that 911 call at 5. So where exactly was Noura during that time?
You were not in that house?
No, I was not in that
Before
house.
5 o'clock?
Before 5 o'clock, no.
So what about this cut on her hand, right? To me, this is the most damning evidence here, probably. There were 5 different times where Noura talked about this cut and where she got it to different people, and here were all her different answers.
She claimed that she cut it at a tying festival.
She told me that she was in her house chasing her kitten through the kitchen and cut it on some glass.
She said that she cut it on barbed wire.
She cut it trying to get the cat out of the garage. I burned it cooking macaroni and cheese.
So obviously that was really damning as well. However, Noura said that she only gave one statement to everyone, and including the police, and that was that she cut it at the Italian festival. But it looked really bad because Noura kept wearing these sweatshirts that went over her hands. In the first couple of, days, weeks when this happened, whenever Noura was in public, she was seen with long sleeve on. This was the summer. It's hot as balls. However, people have said that Noura always did this, that it was kind of like she was insecure, so she'd wear sweatshirts even in the summer. And Noura said that she had really hairy arms and she was insecure about that. So that kind of makes some sense, but I don't know. It's just all so weird. So I bet a lot of you are sitting here saying, she clearly did it. There's plenty of evidence. Why are you still on the fence? And the reason I'm still on the fence and unsure is because there was not a single bit of Noura's DNA at the crime scene. There was no bloody knife found, there was no fingerprints or any DNA on her body. There were knives in the house, but the investigators were not able to determine whether or not those were used in the actual crime. Noura's blood was nowhere in the crime scene or on her mother, and Jennifer's blood was nowhere on her daughter. They didn't find any evidence of her mom's DNA on her, which is super weird considering her mom got stabbed 50 times. It's pretty much impossible to not have like a DNA transfer or to get some blood on your clothes. I mean, it's just really, really odd. What is she, like a superhero that can pull off a crazy murder like this and leave behind no trace of evidence? I mean, that's just so weird to me. And another thing to keep in mind is that Noura had freshly manicured nails. They were still in great condition, no blood, no scuffs. There's no hair, no skin underneath them. And although investigators didn't find the DNA of Noura anywhere, they did find DNA for 2 random unknown women. They were never able to match them, but there were 2 women there. So that to me is why I'm still on the fence. I'm not sure. There's a lot of evidence pointing to Noura, but there's a lot that points to someone else. Jennifer had like clumps of hair in her hands. A lot of the times when people are fighting back in a crime scene, investigators will find hair in their hands. And this is almost funny, but forensic experts decided not to test this hair, and they never ran tests on it. So to this day, we have no idea whose hair that was. I mean, it seems so fucking ridiculous to me that you wouldn't check the hair that's in the victim's hands at the crime scene. And this hair was blonde, but Noura's hair is clearly brown. What's also weird about this case is that no one testified in it. Not any of Noura's friends, no one on her side, and not even Noura herself, which to this day, she said was the biggest mistake she ever made. But on March 27th of 2009, the jury sentenced Noura Jackson to 20 years and 9 months in prison for murdering her mother.
Noura bows her head while her dead mother's sisters and friends exchange hugs.
I just couldn't believe it. They didn't prove anything. How do you convict this child?
I really was of the belief that, you know, I will go to trial and I will prove that I'm innocent and then I will get to go home. And I think I was in shock.
And she was prosecuted for this crime even though there was absolutely no forensic evidence that she did it or that she was there. When she went to prison, her defense team never stopped fighting for her. They really felt like Noura had no one on her side. Her parents are both dead, no friends, no family to like look out for her. But then on August 22nd of 2014, the Tennessee Supreme Court threw out Noura Jackson's second-degree murder conviction, saying that the prosecution actually violated her rights not to say anything at all, because in the statements from the prosecuting attorney, she asked Noura a question, kind of a loaded question, and Noura's not able to answer it, and it made her look guilty.
Tell us where you were. That's all we're asking, Noura.
Those words, according to Corder, violated Noura's constitutional right not to testify.
The Tennessee Supreme Court also said that the prosecution withheld potentially exculpatory evidence, which is evidence that is likely to prove innocence, from the defense, and they failed to reveal a statement that witness and Noura's friends with benefits, Andrew, had given, which contradicted his testimony in previous statements. So basically proving that they really can't trust whatever Andrew said. And then Andrew himself confessed that he was actually rolling on ecstasy during the time of the crime, and he didn't even have his cell phone on him. And this made the whole statement about Noura telling him to come over and hang out just illegitimate. It just wasn't able to be used as part of the case anymore. So they basically decided to give Noura a retrial. However, witnesses on the prosecution side didn't want to go through the whole trial again, so they both agreed on a plea deal. Noura signed something called an Alford plea. Now, if you remember, I've talked about Alford pleas at least 2 or 3 times on this channel. Specifically, one I can think of is the West Memphis 3. That might be one of the most popular cases of an Alford plea being used. It basically allows you to admit that the prosecution has enough evidence to determine that you are guilty, but you are also maintaining your innocence at the same time. It's a really weird and bizarre and rare thing that they use in court. And that was the best case scenario, and Noura decided to take that, and a lot of people questioned her, like, why would you take that? Because now, even though you get to be free, people will always still think maybe you could have done it because you sort of admit to it. That's what it is. It's really weird. But if you think about it, at that point, she just wants to get out of prison. She had been in there like 11 years at that point. And She wanted to, you know, get on with her life, live her 30s. You don't want to spend another 10 years fighting just for, you know, the moral of it. At this point, she was just ready to get out of prison and start her life. And in March 2017, the attorney on the prosecution side started facing challenges of ethical violations in the Jackson case.
We'd like to talk to you about the Noura Jackson case.
Not right now.
We've been trying to get in touch with you. The state has called for your public censure for botching that murder case.
It's not a fair assessment at all, and it will play itself out in the appropriate forums.
Your trial errors either sent an innocent girl to prison or they let a killer go free. Which is worse?
She killed her mother and she did her time for it.
We really like to talk to you about this. Why can't we sit down and talk to you?
You can make an appointment like everybody else.
We tried.
And the judge, Judge Kraft, said that he thinks that Noura had a fair trial and that she is guilty. However, after serving 11 years in prison, on August 7th, 2016, 15 months after she signed an Alford plea, Noura was released from the prison.
At 8:30 this morning in her blue prison uniform, Noura Jackson made the 75-second walk to freedom. Moments later, she changed into a new outfit. Once Jackson was officially outside the prison gates, she was greeted by her friend with a long, emotional embrace after more than a decade behind bars. Moments later, she rode off, beginning a new chapter. Jackson's attorneys accepted a plea deal of voluntary manslaughter from prosecutors, avoiding a potentially lengthy new trial.
She could have fought for another 10 years on principle. I don't know anybody who would give up their 30s for principle.
In the deal, Jackson did not admit guilt in the death of her mother, but accepted the lesser offense.
Yes, I'm going to give a statement. Andrew Hammock was the only person to testify. I was at my home that night. My lawyers argued repeatedly for this statement, and the prosecution denied it ever existed. The prosecutors in this case deceived the judge, my lawyers, and the jury by hiding very important evidence. The prosecutors then allowed that witness to perjure himself on the stand and didn't do anything to stop it. This should never be allowed. And trust me when I say I'm not the only person this has happened to.
How are you doing, Noura? I just want to talk about that.
It didn't feel real. I was just really scared that someone was going to tell me to come back in the building.
Someone real with me right now. And baby, it's not just for today.
I know this.
Noura asks to drive past the home where she was raised, the same house where her mother died.
Do you want me to do anything?
I want you to keep going.
Okay.
I'm trying to think of something to say to stop the tears.
Let yourself go, baby. Stop trying to control it. It's okay.
Being incarcerated is tough in itself, but being incarcerated for something you didn't do is something else entirely.
And while she was in jail, she got her GED, so she started applying to colleges. She has dreams of going to college one day and, you know, living a successful life. And she ended up settling with her mother's sisters for a portion of that estate, which was $1.5 million. She says she still thinks of her mother daily and misses her all the time. So, I want to know what you guys think about this. I mean, I'm just so torn on this because for some reason, Noura just doesn't strike me as a killer. Although there are so many people out there that commit murders that you would never think would do it. And it's not enough to just be like, oh yeah, I don't get like killer vibes from this person, so they didn't do it. Evidence really stacks up against her, but the lack of DNA evidence makes me just say, you know, you just can't prove it. I don't know, you guys. I'm really looking for your opinions on this one. Let me know what you think below. Tell me your theory, why you think that. I'm still just in the land of I don't fucking know, which is where I've been living the last 3 weeks. So, but I hope you guys enjoyed that video. I hope you enjoyed learning about this case. And that's it for me today, guys. I will talk to you next time. Bye.
Sleep away.